everybody. Welcome to the podcast. So, I've got a wonderful episode today. I've done it once in the past before, and it's about boys and EC. For the next several months, mostly I'm going to be answering questions and making sure that you guys have all your top questions answered. So, if you have one for me, you can go to godiaperfree.com/ask Andrea. And maybe I will answer your question in a future episode. If it's available, then that means you can ask me, and if it's not, that means I'm not doing it at that time. But yeah, let's get right into the questions. First and foremost, we've got Kimberly. Kimberly, no, if you want to go back to my other episode on boys and EC, that would be episode 97. So it'd be godiaperfree.com/97, and you can see how things are different, the same, etc., as compared to girls. Today, we're going to talk about I'm going to directly address Kimberly and Devin's questions. They're from Michigan and Ohio. They've got two boys that are a little bit different in age. So hopefully this will help you guys wrap your heads around it if you're having a boy or you have one right now. All right, first let's do Kimberly's.
Hi, Andrea. My name is Kimberly. I live in South Haven, Michigan, and our son is 10 months old. My question is, my baby has been touching himself and even playing with his pee whenever we put him on the mini potty. What can we do to discourage this aside from physically holding his hands back? When can we expect him to grow out of this habit?
Awesome, Kimberly. Thanks so much for your question. Okay, so with a 10-month-old, this is totally normal. If you're not, okay, we all live in a diapering culture, so we all know that most of the time parents are not going to be doing EC. So most of the time babies are going to be wearing a diaper 24/7 unless they have diaper rash, God forbid. And that's when they'll be diaper free. And sometimes hopefully they'll look me up to be like, what do I do to prevent diaper rash again? You do EC. But yeah, so if we aren't hardly ever getting access to that part of our bodies as babies, naturally when we have diaper free time or we're doing EC or we're actually even able and blessed to be able to use the potty occasionally or all the time, we're going to get creative and explorative and say, what is this? And I want to touch it all the time. So just want to tell you that it's totally normal. Whether your son is intact or not, circumcised or not, you've got the same instinct to pull at that foreskin and to tug on the penis. And my fiance would agree that that probably never goes away well into the older years. But yeah, so touching himself is of course normal, but like you've got a problem here because he's playing with the pee on the potty, in the mini potty. And that's a clear no. So if this is your first child, any of you listening, and you have not felt comfortable saying no yet, I want to give you full permission to say no. When they do something, used to with Kaiva, my first son, I would say not for Kaiva, and I would take and redirect him. Redirection at this age is awesome. Definitely handing him something that he can hold. He will change his direction because he's only 10 months old. If you've got a 3-year-old, saying no is a little bit different, and that's why I want you to do EC and wrap up EC with or without potty training, because I don't want you to have to potty train a 3-year-old. It is not the right age to be able to do that smoothly. So saying no and giving him something to hold. If you're not used to saying no, I never said no with my first one. He still said no anyway. It didn't matter. It was just a first-time mom thing. With all my others, I have definitely said no. And sometimes they know I mean business. Sometimes they're like, I don't know, I can kind of push this one. So if you feel firmly that your child should not be playing with pee, just say, no, no, no. Move their hand onto their knee. And yeah, you don't need to like physically restrain your child or anything like that. I know it feels like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. He won't stop. What I want to do is address when will he grow out of it. It will pass quickly. So after having 5 children, being pregnant with my 6th, I can tell you one thing for certain. And after watching hundreds of thousands of other families go through similar things, everything passes so quickly. I mean, you run into any older person and they're going to tell you, if you blink, your child's going to be 18 and out of the house. You know, you need to cherish every moment. You will miss the tantrum days. You will miss the potty pause days. You will miss the days when you were dealing with diapers. You will miss this time when your child was playing with their pee in the mini potty. And looking back, it'll only be maybe a couple of weeks. The other recommendation I have is to, anytime in parenting, if there's something or some situation that's causing the most friction, remove that from the equation if you can. So if you remove the mini potty from the equation at the moment, put it in your minivan or whatever else, your other vehicle, or keep it in the closet for just a little while. And once we get past this stage, we can reintroduce it or leave it in the living room. Your child goes up to the mini potty. Take that as a clear signal that, hey, I am actually thinking about the potty. I'm touching the potty. I need to go. But use the big toilet with a seat reducer instead, okay? This will prevent him playing with the pee in the potty because he'll be too far away to touch it. He might try to reach in and play with the water, in which case, please just give him something super cool to hold that he can only hold in the bathroom. Again, this will pass, but we don't want to make touching himself a negative thing. One of the biggest benefits of EC is that children of both genders, they just have this really awesome relationship with themselves. So no shame and no just weird awkwardness around the private parts. So when we're comfortable with our genitals from an early age, it becomes less of an issue. Like, I can't help but wonder, and I know there haven't been any long-term studies done on this, but I can't help but wonder if being made to poop and pee in your diaper on your own skin and in social situations where you have to do it and you're basically in front of people even though you have a diaper on, I find it really hard to believe that that doesn't affect your self-esteem and self-image and your level of shame around your private parts as a young adult, an adult, etc. So I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there, just tossing it out there. If it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, great. But touching themselves, letting them explore their bodies, especially if you just started EC at 9 months and they're 10 months old now, it's like, yeah, there's going to be some exploration and that's actually healthy. And it's healthy until it's not. So if they're sitting there in the middle of church in the pew and they, start to touch themselves, that's obviously not appropriate. We're going to say, no, we don't do that here in public. But at home, just exploring, again, there's there are a lot of studies that show that you've got this foreskin that needs to loosen over time and that it happens through the touching. So this is a good thing. All right, so I'll stop repeating myself. I think you guys get it. Say no, give them something to hold, use the big toilet with the seat reducer temporarily, and this will pass quickly. If you guys have anything else to ask or to add about boys and EC, because it is different from girls doing EC, although the finishing ages are usually around the same, they're just different. Boys are usually more physical, girls are a little more cerebral at these ages. If you have any more questions about that, let's go to the show notes, and then I'm going to answer Devin's question next, also on boys. But go to godiaperfree.com/208 if you have any more advice for Kimberly or any questions about that. Now let's listen to Devin from Ohio.
Hi, my name is Devin. My son's name is Avery. We are from Ohio. My son is 2 years old. He's very comfortable on the potty thanks to Elimination communication. My question has to do with aiming. My son tends to touch his penis while he's peeing, and we are just having a lot of spraying. Do you have tips on how to help him learn to aim into the splash guard, get his actual urine into the potty, and not all over my floor? My son does have Down syndrome, which means he does have a developmental delay. And so, although he is 2, he's more like a 1-year-old. And we're also starting to see that potty pause because he's learning how to walk. And so, some of the tips you give, although they may be like, just explain it to him, that doesn't quite work. And so, with my son, it's very much about positive reinforcement, consistent language, consistent actions. My fear is that I'm accidentally going to create a bad habit, like teaching him that he can pee everywhere. But I also don't want to teach him he shouldn't touch his penis. I need to teach him that he can touch his penis, but in a correct way. So my situation is kind of unique, but I trust that any advice you give is probably going to be helpful. Thank you very, very much for all you do.
You're very welcome, Devin. All right, so that was Devin from Ohio, and I love that she is just so on top of the differences between children who have Down syndrome and neurotypical or genetically typical children. There are differences, and clearly, Devin, you've done your research, and you have really great caregivers helping you out. and teaching you, and you're just a great mom, just to be aware of what works and what doesn't work for your child. And this does impact the advice that I'll give. So with a 1-year-old who's just learning how to walk, I understand that he is 2, but that he is more of a 1-year-old in the developmental stages. So if you guys didn't know, children with Down syndrome go through the exact same developmental stages. They're just a little bit delayed on some and a lot delayed on others. And I do have another episode on EC and Down syndrome. It's episode 63. If you guys want to check it out, go to diaperfree.com/63. But today we're talking about boys. So we've got spray, we've got it everywhere, and we've got issues with aiming. I would say if your child is able to stand up and you've got a boy, you can get a small stool if they're not tall enough yet to reach over the lid. I'm assuming that Devin's child is old enough to reach over. In other words, his penis is higher than the lid of the toilet. We want to put something in the toilet like a Cheerio or some kind of floating round thing with a hole in the middle. I would just get some Cheerios, even if you don't eat the things, and have your child try to hit the Cheerio. This is an old school potty training tip, and I would definitely do that. The other thing is, just like when we're using messy paints in homeschool, my house, I always use some kind of a splash pad. They make them for the toilet. They make them specifically for boys. And even my 12-year-old, he's the problem child of my 3 boys. He likes to spray everywhere. I definitely explain it to him, and that doesn't work. Positive reinforcement does work with my son. My son has Asperger's. Not quite the same, but definitely like his brain, like if I tell him something, I have to tell him a million times, and it's almost as if he doesn't hear it. So I get you. What I have to do in that case is just kind of be the broken record and repeat myself, but also protect the area as best I can. So we want to put a spray pad, they do sell them, that goes around the toilet. And that will help a lot as well. And we definitely want to teach all boys, you guys, to lift and lower the toilet seat when they're interested in doing the stand-up thing. The other thing that could really help is a mini potty that's actually a urinal that sticks on the wall. That could be really fun, and also it's way more containing because it's like this round or ovular orb thing that they can go into, and then the dish comes out and you just dump that. So that's what I would do. And I love that you said that it's okay for him to touch his penis, but in a correct way. And that is definitely the thing. You guys, with EC, we have all these opportunities to set healthy boundaries at an early age. And I think that that's wonderful. So let's use these opportunities to teach. We are our children's first teachers. If you're homeschooling like me, then you are also their teacher until they're 18. And I think that it's important to know that we're not scolding or discouraging or whatever. We're actually teaching. So this is very important as well. Devin, thank you so much for your question. You guys, if you want to add to the boy conversation, just go on over to godiaperfree.com/208, and I'll see you there. Thank you so much. And thanks for your questions, ladies.